Late in my marriage, when I knew I was unhappy but I hadn't yet grasped how bad things really were, I was talking with a lifelong friend. We've known each other across decades, through different careers, through different versions of ourselves. We've watched each other fall in love, become parents, carry responsibility, and build our lives over time. At one point in this conversation, I was trying to explain how I felt inside my own family, and I said something that surprised even me. I said, I feel like income-producing whiteware. Useful, reliable, necessary, but no longer a real person. More a collection of functions, performed for others and accepted without much thought about the person, the human being, doing the performing. The moment those words were out, they had a kind of awful clarity, because they weren't just about marriage, they were about something broader, something many men experience without ever quite naming. Here's the pattern. Most of us spend the first half of our lives being rewarded for usefulness. We build skills. We become dependable. We carry responsibility. We solve problems. And for a long time, that works. Usefulness brings status, income, structure, a place in the world. But over time, something changes in us. We start to confuse being useful with being valued. And without ever saying it out loud, and often without even realizing we've done it, we assume that people will notice our contribution and love us for it. But when it's never named, what we are actually doing is more likely to be accepted as just the way things are. Because after all, people don't love the roof over their head. They don't love the electricity that comes out of the wall. And they don't love whiteware appliances that simply do their job. And the more competent we become, the easier it is for workplaces, systems, and even relationships to relate to us primarily as a function. Not because anyone is being malicious, but because all systems adapt. They learn to rely on what works and then stop questioning it. But no one is useful forever. And roles change. A career can plateau or end. A relationship can shift or collapse. Our bodies might stop doing what they once did. When that happens, many men experience a really deep disorientation, not a fear about money or status. Though those things matter, it's something more fundamental. A question, if I'm no longer defined by usefulness, then who am I now? We don't say this out loud, and instead it usually shows up sideways through restlessness, irritability, overwork, or withdrawal, or a sudden urge to reinvent everything. I'm Jared, and this channel is not about motivation, and it's not about life hacks, and it's not about putting on a performance. It's about identity and purpose, about how we live well and honorably across our whole lives when the maps that used to guide us don't fit anymore, especially in midlife and beyond, and especially for men who have been competent, responsible, and useful, and are now facing transitions that do not come with a guidebook. If these questions are already familiar to you, then you are in the right place. At some point, we need to ask better questions. Instead of, how do I become useful again? A more honest question is, how do I remain a person, not just a function? And how do I make sure that person is someone that I can respect? That asks a number of tough things of us. It asks for honesty about what's changed and about how we participated in confusing our function with our value. It requires restraint, resisting anger or withdrawal or blame. And it requires paying attention to what still matters and what always did, and a willingness to live well when our certainty is gone. As young men, many of us were lit from within by things that mattered deeply to us, before career, before obligation, and before time closed in. It may have been sport, or art, or music, or adventure, or community. And those flames may be embers now, but embers still carry heat, and they can be fed. When we've allowed ourselves to be defined by function for too long, it's often been at the cost of caring for ourselves. Our health, physical and mental, and just as importantly, our own sense of what we want to do with the time that we have left. And transitioning from function back towards ourselves gives us a chance to address that imbalance before it is too late. Losing a role or outgrowing one isn't failure, but it isn't automatically liberation either. It's a threshold. Now, if questions about identity, usefulness, and what comes next are already forming in you, then you're in the right place. Please let me know if you like this content by hitting the like button. But until next time, let's live the whole of our lives well.